God, we thank you for what you've done and for all that you're going to do. God, we keep that as our prayer daily. God, we love you. And we're in awe by what you've done. God, thank you for this day. The chance to be together in a fellowship of brothers. And God, please speak through Josh. May everything he say be to your glory. I praise in Jesus' name.
If you guys would turn with me this morning as we look into the book of Romans, Romans chapter 12. Listen, if you can't get excited about worship this morning after hearing something like that, you can take and put your fingers on your wrist or up on your throat to see if you're still alive, because that's good stuff right there. Here's the thing is, man, I love it because there's a lot of places that would love to have what we have. These guys are so talented, and they put so much into it so that you and I can come to an experience with Jesus through song. It goes so fitting with the passage we're going to look at today and talking about worship. If you would turn with me as you're turning there to Romans chapter 12. And we're going to look simply at one verse this morning mainly, and this is going to be our focus verse. Romans chapter 12, verse 1 says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship." Thank you, Billy. I love this passage here. Today I want to talk about, and we might make it into a 2-week series and finish it off next week. I want to talk about authentic worship. You know, that's a unique word, authentic. Authentic. If you look at the definition of the word authentic, it says this. It says, of undisputed origin or genuine. Authentic. I love things that are authentic. Every year we've missed, I think this might be the first year we've missed, but every year in November we always would go to Amarillo to the WRCA, Working Ranch Cowboys Association World Finals. I could really care less about going to the rodeo. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. But they have the trapping show, or a trade show, you might say, of all this handcrafted cowboy stuff. Like handmade spurs. They're authentic. They're the real deal. These handmade saddles, reins, and I really like that stuff until I pick up the price tag. They're very expensive. Have you ever noticed something that is authentic costs quite a bit? Some of you guys I know collect signs. If you go to Hobby Lobby, you can pick up that same identical looking sign for half the price. And if I'm betting, Hobby Lobby usually has a 70% off sale, so you can knock that down a little bit more. But if you're going to go dig it out of the pasture, it's going to take a little work. But if you want to stick it on eBay, the price of that authentic piece is out the roof. Authentic stuff, I think of duck decoys. I know we have a lot of hunters in here. I would like to say that I am authentic in hunting, but I'm not. It's something I enjoy doing. But listen, there are some guys, when it comes to hunting, that's what they do. They live, breathe, and sleep it. I have a friend by the name of Chad Haven. Many of you know him. He's ate up. He probably spends half of his annual income in corn so he can get a picture of his deer. And if you're like me, rifle season, the week before I'll put out a camera and I'll stick some corn out, and then as soon as it's over, I'm done. No, we're talking about authentic hunters. He'll stick his out in August, and he's going to watch them all the way till their horns drop. I mean, that's authentic. You think about, like I said a minute, duck decoys. Ducks can tell the difference between the real deal and some fakes sometimes, because let's just be honest, fakes aren't as good as the real thing. Authentic things, they last longer. There's more depth to them. it is, I like how the definition of undisputed origin, you know what you're getting when you get it. If it's authentic, it might cost you a little more, but it usually lasts a little bit longer. My wife recently bought me a jacket from Atwood's. It was on sale for $17. I have the exact same jacket, and it says Cinch on it. And listen, I'm not a name brand guy. I'm not promoting name brand like you have to have name brand. But I paid a little bit more for my Cinch jacket. I've had my Cinch jacket for 4 years now. I've had that jacket for about 4 weeks, and it's already broke. Authentic things last longer. They're a little bit better. They have a good quality about them. You know when you get an authentic piece that there was heart and soul put into them. I want to talk a little bit about today about authentic worship and what that looks like. And I know when I say the word worship, many of you are probably thinking this is authentic worship just happened. We just sang our 4 songs, and so we had our worship for the day. Or we think maybe sometimes authentic worship is when we really feel the Spirit moving within us, that we might lift our hands up. I know a lot of you are from Baptist background, and so that's probably not going to happen. But you know what I'm saying? When you really feel like the Spirit's moving and you're like, how'd this happen? I lifted my hands up. Or you know what I'm talking about, when you really feel the Spirit moving and you're singing your songs and your eyes goes closed and you're like, I can remember the words all of a sudden and I really feel the presence right now. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but I think we get mixed up in when we say worship like it just happens when we're singing. Authentic worship is a lot more than that. Authentic worship should happen all the time. Authentic worship is, I want to really focus on this one today, is authentic worship is a lifestyle where we should be in constant worship. It says in Psalms 145, verse 3, that great is the Lord, most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom. And so we might ask the question sometimes, why should we be in constant worship? Because He is the creator of it all. You know, too many times we get caught up in worshiping the creation instead of the Creator. You know that we could probably do this today as if, and we're not going to do this, but I'm just making an example. If we all came in here and wrote a log, like some of us have to do at work, what we have done throughout the past, let's just say the past 2015. And we're going to write out what we did each day. And then we're going to lay our bank statement next to it. I bet that we could almost pretty fast guarantee pick out what we worship in our lives. Where do you spend most of your money might be what you spend most of your time worshiping. Where you spend most of your time might be what you spend most of your time worshiping. Authentic worship is a lifestyle. I always like this, and I'm not making fun, and I want you all to know that I love all of you, but I'm just trying to use this for an example. Amen. Here we go. They're like, uh-oh, Josh's fixing to do it right now. He's fixing to do it, and we're going to have to leave. Now, listen, I like authentic worship, and I want you to kind of look at it like this is, you know, there's people that really live, and I'm going to focus on cowboy stuff today because that's something I really like. You see guys that wear their boots and their jeans, their starched jeans and their starched shirt, or their cowboy hat. People like, let's just throw it out there and give him a plug because he might be listening, Jerome Jones. He's got his cowboy hat on 24/7. You look at him and you say, oh, he's a cowboy. That guy's a cowboy. But then you know the ones too that when the rodeo comes to town, you can find them all up there stepping out or whatever. and they're buying their hat. And nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But you know the ones that are the real deal, that are authentic. I think as we will look at this passage today, we're going to understand what we should do to lead a lifestyle of authentic worship. If I'm going to be the best at what I do, I have to be authentic. Wouldn't you agree? If we're going to be the best spiritually at what we do, we have to be authentic. Because I'm going to go off on a side note here. I can assure you, just as we can look at people and say, they're not the real deal. In your spiritual life too, people can look at you and go, not the real deal. Listen, I think back to even, and I ain't calling anyone old, but Pops, would you agree with me that they don't make things? I'm not calling him old. Listen, he knows my heart. But would you agree they don't make things the way they used to make them? Because we have no authenticity in our world anymore. We have a bunch of fake stuff. Last night as I watched Nat Geo, I'm ate up with this drug stuff, like these people that are smuggling drugs and stuff. It's crazy to me. And they were showing last night on the show that the number one business besides dealing drugs in America today is counterfeit. Hey, our world's a bunch of counterfeit. We got to get back to being authentic, the real deal, making things the way they used to make them. I look back and I look at Pops because they don't make men like that anymore. They don't make men that stand firm and you can say, oh, if I got a problem, that's who I'm going to. He's the real deal. He's the real McCoy. And so we need people that are authentic. People that are authentic. Romans, I'm going to jump over here real quick maybe to Romans chapter 12, verse 1. We're going to go right there. It says, therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy. Now let's stop right there for a second and look at the definition of mercy. The definition of mercy as we're looking through this passage. Mercy is getting what you do not deserve. Why should we live a lifestyle of worship? Is because we are getting something we do not deserve. Do you understand what we all deserve? We deserve death and hell. That's what we deserve. It's kind of like my kids. For some reason, I tell my kids, and we've made contracts, we've done all kinds of stuff. And I know some of you have made contracts with your kids. And I say, listen, here's the chores. And if you'll do A, B, and C, I'll give you this amount of money. Or I'll take you here. Or for a great example, the other day, my parents throw stuff on me, it seems like. And I can talk about it because they're not here this week. My dad thought it'd be a great idea because the rabbit cages at Tractor Supply were on sale. Well, he didn't buy the rabbit, but he did buy the cage. And so Taylor begs me to buy this rabbit. And if you have daughters, you know that you cannot say no. And so I go get this rabbit. And I say, Taylor, here's the deal, is if you will take care of this rabbit, it'll teach you responsibility. We will even pay you to take care of this rabbit, in which I'm going to pay 100% of everything. I'm going to buy the feed, I'm going to buy the rabbit, and then I'm going to pay you to take care of your rabbit. And then I'll say, you didn't feed your rabbit. Oh, I forgot. Really? You forgot? We've even made lists. Go look at the list. How did you forget? And at the end of the week, Sarah will talk me into it, and I'll still give her money. She gets something that she never deserved. She never deserved any of that. And that's on a small scale. But that's called mercy. You know what I'm talking about? Because you do it to your kids all the time. We show mercy. Listen, if they really got what they deserve, bell's coming off, baby. We're swinging for the fences. It's mercy. Why should we live a lifestyle of authentic worship? Is because of God's great mercy. The next thing is, it says in view of God's mercy to offer To offer, we're gonna really pick this verse apart today. To offer, to do something without being asked. How many of you guys are like this? Me and Sarah, we have a routine when we go on a trip. And Sarah, she packs the bags. I don't know where my kids' underwear, I don't know where anything of my kids is. If I know where mine is, we are making progress. Sarah packs my clothes, everyone's clothes. I'm responsible for everything outside. I make sure everything's fed, everything has water, all the animals are taken care of. But we have our role, but can you, if she asked me to come help her with something inside, I would come help her. But can you imagine how it would feel for me to offer? Hey, babe, is there anything I can help you with before I go outside and take care of my chores? I know some of you are maybe nudging people right now. But doesn't it feel good when people offer things? And why should we live a life of authentic worship? Not only because God deserves it because of His great mercy, but wouldn't it be nice sometimes dads, moms, you know what I'm talking about? If your kids would offer to do something, just like probably Jesus would really like it if we would offer to worship Him. It says, offer your bodies. And here's where we're going to camp out for a little while. Bodies. It says your bodies, to offer your bodies. That includes everything about you. To offer your bodies. I want you to really think with me for just a second on that and look. I'll read it to you in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. It says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, you should think about such things. Listen, some of us wouldn't even want God to look upon our bodies because of what we've taken into it. God says you should offer your bodies as a form of worship. Now, that includes everything that comes in your body as well. Because I don't know about you guys, but everything that comes in usually goes out. Even if it's thoughts that I think, and if I meditate on that for very long, they're going to come out. Somebody help me out with this. Huh? How did you know that? Because when is the last time you watched the Andy Griffith Show? Kenny Barrington is authentic. They don't make things like that anymore. I could sing numerous jingles. The Brady Bunch. You know it. I could sing the tune to Friends. You know it. I could sing the jingle to a lot of songs or a lot of shows that you have not seen in a long time, but you know it, right? How do you know it? Because you've put it inside your body. You've meditated on it, and it's stuck with you. Some of the things we watch on TV, really, is that what we want God to know we're watching? I mean, I want to let you know, He knows. Just because you don't see Him seeing you, He knows. Our bodies should be a form of worship to God. Our speech, the way we talk, should be a form of worship to God. Our environment that we put our bodies in should be a form of worship to God. I heard it put great one time as I don't remember what I was doing. I was probably being a knothead of some form or fashion, and someone looked at me and goes, "Is that what you want to be doing when Jesus comes back?" Whoa. I never really thought about that because I really didn't think He was going to come back until I told Him I was ready for Him to come back. Your body should be a form of worship. I can assure you, what you take in will come out. What goes in here usually comes out of here. And then when you get really, really mad, I'm talking real mad. What's sitting here long enough and has dripped down into here, when you hit that point where you're really mad or in a real bind, it's going to come out as well. We should offer our bodies as a living sacrifice to God. And it's where it stops, as living sacrifices. You know, in the Old Testament, they used to take animals and their best animal, and they would cut their throats, and they would lay them on an altar, and they would give them to God as a sacrifice. Those weren't living sacrifices, right? They were dead. They were no longer alive because they cut their throat and they laid them up there and they burnt their sacrifice to God. And then God sent His Son to be a living sacrifice for you and I, that we didn't have to do that anymore. He defeated death, and we don't have to do those kind of sacrifices, but we are to be a living sacrifice. What does that look like, a living sacrifice to God? I mean, we live in a world where sacrifice is not, no, that's not a word in our vocabulary anymore. I would be willing to bet that 90% of us in this room don't really even know what sacrifice is. I mean, we all look good. All you look good. This is a beautiful congregation. We all have on nice clothes. And I'm sure that we've all had a meal within the last 24 hours. I mean, there's maybe been some hard times in our lives, but we live in a world where we can get rescued real quick. He wants us to be a living sacrifice, to deny the things that separate us from Him, to deny self and sacrifice it for Him. What have you given up for God that He might get praised and worshiped lately? What have you laid down that He might be praised and worshiped lately? He says that we should be a living sacrifice to Him. And I love how it just ends right here. It says, because if you are doing those things, if you are having mercy, and then you're offering your bodies as living sacrifices, He says, then that would be holy and pleasing to God. Wouldn't you want to live a life of worship that was holy and pleasing to God? That He might say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You did a heck of a job while you spent your time there. Enter into the kingdom of heaven. Or would it maybe look like this? Because let's be honest, God's a just God. He's going to judge fairly. Or would you maybe have the mentality of that when we go before our day of judgment going, oh, whew, I really didn't see this day coming. I hope I did enough. And not that it's by works, but you know what He's saying is those people that just seem to sometimes get it because they need a little fire insurance. I'm talking about some fruit in the life. What does your tree look like? Is there very much fruit on your tree? Has your life been a lifestyle of worship? And it says that when you do these things, this, my brothers, this is your spiritual act of worship. Authentic living, an authentic lifestyle. I've really been hung up on the word authentic these past couple weeks because I just don't feel like we live in a place there's very much authenticity. Does your life reflect Christ Monday through Saturday, or are you just lukewarm for the Sunday? Are you authentic? Because I can assure you the authentic ones can see right through the phonies because they've worked to get there. They've worked hard. I've been going to the gym with Kevin in the evenings when I get a chance, and one of the things that I love about it is, you see these boys, and I was one of them when I was in high school, that you walk in there, and listen, I know what it takes for me to get down there and do it, and I'm exhausted, I'm not very tough anymore. I'm soft and pudgy, and it takes a lot of work, but I see results happening in my life. And then you see the ones that, they walked up like this. I work out. You're like, no, you don't. You talk it out. You never lift up nothing. You never really get down on the bench and do the work. We need some people that are authentic, that are the real deal. We need some people who are willing to get after it. They don't make them like that anymore. Why do they not make them like that anymore? Because we're not willing to sacrifice what it takes to sacrifice to be like that anymore. So here's what we're going to do today, church. If we really are the church that we say we are, we're the place that has hope for the lost, and we're the hospital for sinners, and we're here to help the ones that need help. Hey, I've seen an outpouring cry on social media the past 2 weeks for people in the oil field. Hey, I ain't in the oil field, and I like low gas prices, don't get me wrong, but it's bad for business too. It affects me even though I'm not in it. And it affects more than just me. I spent the few days with even Cody riding around. And the oil field, crazy enough, even affects the cattle market, which ultimately turns and it affects your price of meat on your table. We have a lot of stuff where people are hurting really bad right now. And so this morning, I'm going to ask Billy Morgan if you want to come. I'm going to ask him to come play this morning, and we're going to pray. Church, we're going to pray this morning. We're going to pray because we're going to start being authentic. We're going to be the real deal, and we're going to worship. And here's something I want you to know is the question was asked, and I might go ahead and just ask a little answer the stump the chump right here on one. I've heard the question asked, why do we even pray? God don't need us to pray. You know that prayer's for you and I? He knows, He's so detailed, He knows our every thought. He knows every need. He doesn't need us to explain those to Him. But we need to voice them. It's kind of like alcoholics. And they go to the Alcoholic Anonymous class and they say, you have to admit before you can get better. And it's kind of like prayers. We have to get it out there to start changing it, to acknowledge it, to start making a difference. This morning, I want us to pray as a church. We say that we're a church of prayer, then we need to not just talk about it, we need to be about it. I know a lot of you have families. I know a lot of you are involved yourselves in the oil field. And we're going to say a few prayers this morning. But I want to ask you for a minute to bow your head and close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you because it is huge in our economy here in Oklahoma. I'm going to ask you to pray for the oil field. And maybe you need to pray for the specific person that's on your heart this morning that's maybe in the oil field that it's affecting. If we're going to be authentic, it starts right here.